And then there we go.
Beautiful. All right, so I'll share my screen. And I'm sure as I attend more book clubs, I will learn more about how to run this better. But I'm gonna do a Word doc in our studio side by side. And I mentioned earlier to Ron, I had some troubles with some of the exercises, so maybe that's even something we can go through, or we can look at some of the exercises together. I'll kind of run through the different chapters at a high level, and maybe, obviously feel free to jump in. And then I would love to kind of dig into the exercises. And I was starting to also explore some interesting plots not mentioned in the book as well. If you guys have any that you're big fans of or sites, we can talk about that. So awesome. Cool. So chapter 3, as you all probably know, went over data visualizations using ggplot2, which is a pretty cool package. And I'll kind of run through a high level of the sections and then run the code, and we can chat through anything that comes up for you all. Cool. All right, so first we set up some of the data. I had the hardest time getting this library to work, but that's for another day. I'm not sure what I did. But we first set up sort of the data, and then I learned a lot about, okay, this is probably embarrassing with baseball fans, but I learned a lot about different eras, which was pretty cool, like dead ball and lively ball. Let me run all of this. Why isn't this showing? Oh my gosh. Okay. Nice. All right. It's having some issues with my plots appearing earlier. Let's try to reopen this. Sorry, you're seeing a live tech issue. I had tested it right before. Maybe it's the spaces. Oh, we didn't graph anything yet. Okay, so this is just the part where we're breaking it into different eras, which I thought was interesting. And then kind of moving into our next part of kind of understanding when it comes to different eras, where kind of players distributed and what did that look like. So we used some good old ggplot, and we looked at both the bar plot as well as, this looks terrible, a point plot of the same data. And we're starting to explore a little bit about best ways to display categorical data. This looks pretty terrible, and it's probably something I would change, the access down here. And I can't really read it too well, but there we go. So yeah, it's interesting just seeing kind of a peek here at lively ball, which I don't quite remember when that was, but a little bit of a peek here. Let's see where we were. Okay, this part I won't spend too much time on, but I never used patchwork before, so it was interesting to kind of go over saving them and being able to do them in a PDF together. So first kind of looking at taking the data and creating a graph with the baseball era and frequency like we have and just saving it into a PNG, and it went over how you could do it for PDF. I have no idea what EPS is, but maybe some of you do. And then finally kind of building a more comprehensive PDF, which I think I already ran. So yeah. I think I probably want to make this text a little smaller. I don't know why it's rendering. Does anyone know how to do that? I think it has something to do with the labels. But if you have thoughts, feel free to share them in the chat as well.
I'm not sure about text size, but I know you can like flip the orientation of the text.
Oh yeah, I think we did.
That might help as well.
Do you know how to do that off the top of your head? I can also use my friend ChatGPT.
I'm not sure.
All right. Flip text. All right, we will find out together. Oh, seems very complicated, but let's try this one out. So it has us kind of using the angle. We want to do it for the x-axis. Oh, weird flip. Let's try it out. Oh, this one looks better. Anyways, we'll keep going. Cool. And then in 3.4, we looked at sort of looking at a combined score for batting productivity, mining on base plus slugging. And we use the jitter just to make it a little bit more readable. And looked at kind of creating some custom bin breaks in color. So kind of run this. Yeah, I thought this plot was a little bit not impressive, but it was interesting to see. I hadn't really used strip plots before. And then we kind of ran in and created custom breaks for the bins and created a histogram there. Yeah, so it's interesting to just see, it's kind of a normal curve with some outliers up here with that aggregate score for batting productivity. And for this next part, kind of as an overview, we looked at kind of plotting two numeric variables together. And we were looking at sort of this aggregate score. And then I believe mid-career was looking at what era they were in. Let's see. I'm gonna look up my little cheat sheet there. Yeah, I don't know if I think that was looking at what their sort of era was and when they were in the middle of their career. And kind of looking at both scatter plots first to kind of see if there are any trends or clusters that we saw. So I'll run this. Oops. Sorry, interaction's not great. Yeah, I thought it's pretty cool. Obviously, like labeling it was made it a lot easier to see when you had the label for the player. And here we were, don't quite remember why, but I know we were kind of filtering and looking at sort of above 1.05 and then below. I'm not sure if any of you guys might remember.
I thought those are the only ones you'd want to put labels on. Is that what that was for?
Good question. Yeah, I guess we were looking at outliers maybe with that. And then so we saw Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, and Lou Gehrig. And it looks like, I don't know why it's not labeled below, but
Did it get cut off with the Zoom at all?
yeah, I wonder, oh, you're right. I wonder why. I feel like seeing more of the OPS would be good, but okay, sorry, I'm a bit of a noob with some of this stuff, so, but yeah, I think it was supposed to also look at 0.5, but this was kind of leaning into the outliers here and seeing most of them kind of cluster in the middle.
I think there probably are no outliers down there, right? Or were there? Does anyone
Yeah.
remember? I mean, these are Hall of Famers. They probably shouldn't have OPSs in the 0.4 or somethings.
It
You're
looks
not
like the
wrong
lowest
there.
OPS is 0.65, so I think there's just none.
Yeah,
There.
that makes more sense.
Okay, thanks for the
Um,
clarification.
I'm looking at the second edition book, and maybe it's like holdover code. But in the second edition, Willard Brown is labeled
Ah, is
um
he above or below?
below
Okay.
below 0.5.
I don't know much about Willard Brown,
I can take a look.
baseball expert. Do you know Babe Ruth? Cool. Yeah, this part was like a little bit above my head. I know we were looking at kind of adding trend lines, but my baseball knowledge is a bit weak, I will say. So we were looking at kind of creating sort of reference lines across this holistic score of OPS. And so
I do
did you learn?
know. I found out.
All right.
So I can even share my screen
Yeah,
if you want, because this is
let's do
interesting
it.
to me. I feel like would be
I'd
so
love to learn from you.
Willard Brown,
Kicked out of Hall of Fame.
yeah, Hall of Famer, was inducted in 2006, voted by the Negro League Committee. So in the second edition, his OPS was 650 or low, but recently, in like the last couple of years, Major League Baseball added Negro League statistics to
Cool.
Major League Baseball. So now OPS is 977.
Which is pretty crazy. It's nice.
So yeah,
A
I
good
have a
score.
relic of the past in this textbook.
When were they added? Did you say? It was very
It was
recently.
very recently, like within the last like couple years. It might have been last summer or the summer before. But yeah, that's why his
That is
name is
wild.
no longer showing up.
By the way, that's a good point to just to show like what is OPS. It's just the on base percentage plus the slugging added together.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I will. Thanks for that fun fact. I feel like
Yeah.
it's really cool to like dig into the stories. All right. Yeah, and then we kind of drew these lines. I don't know if they show or if these are I don't, to be honest, I'm not really sure what these little lines mean, but let's see. Oh my God. Well, that's terrible, but yeah, I think so. We're looking at, yeah, I'd be curious, like, especially the baseball fans, if you have any perspective of like what the meaning is of these lines, like why we would want to look at OPS like this. Looks like a lot of people once again kind of crowding here, and then maybe it kind of like helps look at outliers too. Kind of seeing some up here. Remember reading a little bit about like a little bit of the meaning. Sure why I have double labels, but here.
I thought this was an interesting way to display OPS. You can see there's multiple ways to get to like a certain slugging percentage. Like you can have a high on base percentage and a lower slugging percentage. Maybe you get like most of your hits are singles or not as much extra base hits. And someone might have a higher slugging percentage without as much getting on base. So those two people could end up having like the same OPS or that same red line.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's like the case. There's maybe a few people like directly on that
they're
second
talented
one.
at both. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, like to look at, yeah, like it seems like talent in both is pretty rare, but like a lot of people seem like strong at reaching bases more than they are at kind of power hitting or slugging. So it's like interesting to see that, but there are a few, like it only goes up this high too. So yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Yeah, and then yeah, it's pretty interesting to watch like how, and I'm like a newbie, so I bring a newbie hat on, but to see a little bit of how things change across eras as a sport matures and seeing a little bit of like how that changes. So I think like here we got to dive a little bit into that more, looking at I forget what this means, home run per per at bats. Okay, so number of home runs for attempts, and we first started out kind of creating that percentage. I'll run this. And then we looked a little bit about like how did this kind of change over time, like home runs and attempts. Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting graphic too. So interesting to see, like, and I'd be interested if like anyone has theories about the why, or actually knows why, like over time as the era changed. It's really interesting to see like a widespread for lively ball, and then really like on the low end in the 19th century. And it seems to like be gradually getting stronger, but with like a very long variety, which I think is pretty interesting here.
Trevor, what was the deal with the dead balls? Was it really like just a different kind of ball they were using, or is just the rules of play were a lot different? You're using wiffle balls? What the heck's going on there?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's, to my knowledge, more of the just they named it just because there wasn't a lot of hitting going on. Maybe not necessarily the ball, just it acted like a dead ball.
Balls were soft and scuffed. That's what I learned from Googling. I don't know much about the baseball, how it changed over time.
Yeah, Jim, there was some changes in the mound as well. Like
That's
after
interesting.
I think after integration, maybe in the expansion era. I'm not sure. I think one way I would improve this graph, like this is obviously the book's like plot or whatever, but
Yeah.
to put like the years as well, because I'm not sure what
Agreed.
the dead ball era years were, at least in how they
Yeah.
defined it. But like I think
See if I can. Yeah, I wonder where we.
so I'm just looking at Wikipedia, large
Yeah.
then I think this guy by the name of like Babe Ruth came along and he was like, I'm gonna hit home runs. And so
That's what.
I think people just like were like, hey, this is a good thing. We should probably try doing that.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring up my friend ChatGPT. Guys, I'm addicted. I am trying to use it, not a ton, but I'm sorry. Yeah, it's interesting hearing what you shared. So it seems like, yeah, I wish there were years on this too, because it's cognitively hard to like remember. And it's interesting to just like see this story too. Like it seems like it yeah, it's interesting to see like the balls like were different. Home runs were rare, pitchers dominated. And then yeah, Babe Ruth came in with some power hitting. And it is interesting to see like there always seems to be like two things going on where like technology gets better too. So lively ball, maybe their balls were not soft and scuffed, so they could start hitting more. And yeah, and this is where we started to see like the quote unquote Negro League, which apparently was just integrated into scoring. So there's that. And competitiveness started to get a little bit tougher, which is super interesting. Salaries, yeah, salaries rising. It's interesting.
Yeah, the steroid era of the
Steroid era.
90s and 2000s.
Gotta add that in.
That was a big one. I see Jim said wood bats or metal. So they've only used wood bats. But there has been like bat improvements over time. And like one of the like stories so far this year has been the so-called torpedo bat in MLB.
What's the torpedo bat?
It's shaped a little differently. kind of like a bowling pin almost.
Interesting.
And it's supposed to supposedly make it easier to hit the sweet part of the bat. So I'm not sure, that may or may not have some
Yeah,
difference, but there's always like changing in equipment and how that affects the results.
yeah. It would be cool to see how and if that impacts like the outcomes of games and how people play the game. And it's very meta. Advanced analytics also kind of going in a bit more. It's cool.
And then like a few years ago, a lot of discussion was on the ball, and people were saying that we had a juiced ball in MLB. So just the composition or however it was manufactured made the ball livelier and led to an increase in home runs. So there's always like, it's never constant, it's always changing.
That's cool. Juiced ball. Well, let's see how this graphic looks. Yeah, and then just seeing a little bit more of that evolution and where there's spread versus like a lot of similarity. Kind of telling like a similar story to the strip chart, but maybe a little bit easier to see like where average is. Pretty cool. And then we were kind of focusing in on 4 players here that are known for being exceptional and kind of digging into their data. So I'm gonna pull this. So then we kind of put together graphic and let's see, page bar. So cumulative home run data and how I think it's always interesting to see this too, because I feel like there's such disparity to peak performance versus like more steady performers. But it seems like these are pretty similar trajectories. Yeah, curious if anything stands out to you all. I feel like this might look different with, of course, with different players. So kind of peeking out. Huh. I feel like it'd be interesting to see like how that changes year to year for the players. I'm not sure if this is, I think this is summing all of their home runs, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is a little
cumulative by
tricky.
age.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see like when each player hit their first home run. Like
Oh yeah.
I think one of them had a relatively late start in their mid-20s or early.
Yeah. This one's like right out of high school. I guess you can kind of look at the slope too to like kind of infer when did things start to slow down for them, but I feel like it's kind of hard to read a bit there. But in like their mid-30s here, but some players kind of seem to be, yeah, Aaron going like almost right up to the end with just straight like progress, which is wild. Yeah, I think if I added another graph, it'd be interesting to kind of see, maybe not cumulative, but like within like bins of 5 years or something to kind of understand, or even like kind of look more closely at sort of like what was happening here and seeing a little bit more of the individual story. Oh, I think I had some trouble with this one, but yeah, here we're looking at McGuire versus Sosa. Pull this up. Yeah, it's momentum. I think I had some trouble running this, but we will see what happens. No, let's look for this. Ah, yeah, I remember. I like couldn't get, I wasn't sure what, like, I couldn't get this to run specifically, so I was having a little bit of trouble here, but let's see. Yeah, I'm not really sure you guys managed to run this, but maybe we could kind of walk through the book for that part. I've never really used like a loading function this way, but maybe I could download it directly from his GitHub too.
I think I looked for it. I didn't think it was there, so I kind of skipped over that too. Yeah, I
Okay.
think you have to like get it from retro sheets using that thing in the appendix. I'm like, I see my notes and I said, I don't want to deal with this right now, so I didn't do it.
Yeah, we could always look at the book and see. Yeah.
It's somebody doesn't have that particular one in there.
Yeah. It does seem like might have evolved a little bit since it was published. Yeah, I don't see it. We're gonna look at the book.
Oh, maybe retro 2016 would give you the same thing, or no? Is that completely different, you think?
Sure, let's give it a try. See if it loads that. Okay.
Or is that completely different
We'll
memory?
rename it. And then we could maybe explore that instead.
I think you have to like download it and stick it in
Oh
a
my
data-
God, I
data
didn't.
directory, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's try that.
Yeah, that would probably work.
Haven't really used RDA files, so you might see me struggle. See what happens. See if maybe it loads it now that it's.
All right, it's in there now. Whatever it is.
Okay.
Well, you don't need that line, I don't think, right?
I don't need it anymore.
I don't think, right?
Read.
I'm not sure.
Probably not. Let's see what's going on.
Like I said, I didn't really try to get through this part.
Yeah, we could always maybe skip it. Maybe yeah, I think we can just
Wow. Big- A lot of observables.
call it by its
Observations.
name. Although it's probably gonna look a little different.
Yeah, we might be able to
Who's in here? Let's see.
might be able to use a couple other players.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Those players aren't going to be in here. That's the problem. So it really is just for that 1
Is
year.
there any? Okay.
Name first. So the
Let's pull this up. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's a lot there.
All right. We might
All right. Well, it's worth a
just
shot.
follow along. Yeah, that was smart though. Above my level, I think. So yeah, let me remind myself of what we were doing here. Cool. So yeah, it looks like we pulled theoretically with this data set that doesn't exist. We looked a little bit at the home runs for why did we add a horizontal line at 62? Is that significant?
yeah, that was the past official home run record.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
So they were
showing my ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they surpassed it. Ah, it's all coming together. So yeah, kind of neck and neck with McGuire sort of leading. Oh man, that's so exciting. Look at that. Do you know the current record?
yeah, it's the current record
The-
is from Barry Bonds,
Mm,
I believe 72.
Wow.
Let me
that's
verify.
cool. That's cool.
73.
What team was he with?
He played for the Giants, and that was 2001 for this record year.
Very cool. All right. Um, cool. Yeah, and then this covered some different graphs. I was exploring a little too. I don't know if you guys have ever used it unsuccessfully. I was looking a little into GG Animate, which I think is pretty cool. And I know there's some cool graphics that I've seen before. But my R kind of gave up on me. Cool. Yeah, maybe we can dive a little bit into some of the exercises. Yeah, so here. Cool. You're looking at batters faced, which I'm kind of forgetting the meaning of. Total number of batters a pitcher has faced in their career. So kind of grouping that into categorical groups. Okay, and then see what comes out. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, that's a lot of a lot of batters. Yeah, kind of a little bit of a normal curve. Be interesting to see. I get wondering if they just had longer careers, like people in this group. See how our dot plot looks.
Mhm.
Interesting. So trying to read this. Yeah, so it looks like a lot of people were sort of in the middle and yeah, like lower ends. I would be interested in like sort of the reasons why for those specific players in those groups, like does it have to do with their career length or something else? I guess. And our next exercise, that total wins above replacement. Kind of forgetting. So I guess another way of looking at it is estimate of the player's overall contribution to team wins. And looking at like how the spread looks here. So yeah, this excess is kind of contribution in aggregate showing contribution to wins. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty interestingly skewed, which I guess kind of makes sense because these are all strong players. It'd be interesting to just learn more about these people and these people. And here, kind of looking at the standout pitchers. So, who are these people?
So Young's gonna be one of them, right? Yep.
I don't like how this displays. So, I wonder if I can. Sorry, this is column is that. Do you guys know who this is? Walty.
It's
I think Walter Johnson.
Ah. Cool. He's the big train.
yeah, Walter Johnson, that's who it is, yeah. Confirmed.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So Walter Johnson and Cy Young, you guys said, or
Yes, I am. Most famous pitcher ever, right? Probably. Arguably.
I put it in the chat if you want to
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
view
cool.
it better than just in the console. You can type view at the end of that and it'll put it up in the view pane.
Oh,
It'll be
good
easier
tip.
to look at the output.
Thank you. I was struggling a little. Wonder, would it be here? Well, would I do this?
That
Let's
should
see.
work, I think. Expected.
What am I doing here?
And
Oh, let me just
maybe it
add
doesn't like the,
space.
that looks better.
I feel like before this book, I was used to using the other Python, so I'm getting used to it. Was it slightly better?
Oh, I think you might need to, yeah,
Ah, look at this. Thank you. This is so much better. Yeah, I'd be curious, like how their length of career varies too, versus like what's typical of a pitcher. All right. We're almost at time. I don't know if there were particular exercises you guys wanted to dive into. Go through maybe this one too. We can look at the graphs together. And I was exploring like a few other visualizations as well.
I thought it was interesting that the next one, there was war by season. But then grouped by batters faced, it seemed like the people that had more, the faced more batters had a higher war, which I found surprising. Maybe I did that wrong, but I think you just have to execute your next plots there, right?
Yeah. Let's look at this.
Yeah,
chart
see, that's
plot. So
seems interesting.
yeah.
Like, why would that be the case? But
So kind of looking at what story is this telling? So this is sort of they're saying it's sort of like a view of their career performance over time. And then batter spaced as this increases.
Batters face, that's total over their career. Is that correct?
yeah,
I believe so, yeah. So this would be, yeah, like they've seen a lot of batters, and then what I'm inferring, and I don't know if this is true, that like for people that have seen a lot of batters, that they got really good towards the end of their career. I'm not sure if that's the right way to interpret this.
well, maybe
Versus
maybe
like,
it's the other way around. Maybe the fact that they were so good, they played longer, right? They hung on longer. Maybe is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Like, a good, like, if you look at the number of innings pitched, or I guess batters faced for a pitcher, that's like a good indicator of how well they are, or how good of a pitcher they are.
Okay, I see.
There's not like an exact correlation, but it's a good indicator of, how good you are.
this is
And I guess that
about
makes sense. If
replacement
you're-
divided by.
And
that makes
then,
sense.
like,
This is hard to interpret. Yeah.
I guess like you could look and you can be like, okay, what are these two in the lower right corner? Like they have some high war seasons, but not a lot of batters faced. Like maybe they got injured and had a shortened career. Like that could be a possibility. I There's probably other possibilities as well, but that's something you like go from here and like start investigating.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to see if the box plot was better. Yeah, I guess like one way of interpreting it is yeah, this is hard for me to understand. I think it seems like high batter's face, yeah, long careers. It's hard to like put together. So
I think what Trevor was trying to say is it's not just a longer career. It's like even if a guy's has a relatively short career, or even if it's the same length of career in years, he might not have the same number of batters faced. They didn't play him as much, right? So like
okay, yeah, that's a good
I
point.
and also maybe the guys with more. I mean, these are not just starting pitchers, are they? It could be some of these are relievers, which generally have a lot smaller number of batters faced, right?
Yeah, so maybe over here is
Yeah.
short and strong careers, and then over here is short and less strong
Yeah,
careers.
still pretty strong. I mean, any war
Still strong, yeah.
Well, any war in the 1.5 range is pretty
Yeah,
not that bad.
that
I
makes sense.
mean, 2 is great.
Very cool. Cool.
I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, we're almost at time. I was
Oh, yeah.
exploring like a few other visualizations too. I can share a little more of the code, which I thought was cool.
Oh.
I just like was looking, this is mock data, but I was like, what are some cool visualizations and starting
Oh.
to explore them. But so I can share
That's a good idea.
a couple of them as well. Cool. Thank you for bearing with me in my first book club. I feel like one thing I really enjoy is learning more about like the individual stories. I think it's so cool hearing about
Yeah.
it and bringing it in as we view the Grasso. I think I'm going to try to do that more too.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a fun book club, so let's make it. I like the idea of making it fun by putting in little stories and whatever people can bring would be great. Yeah, and you did a great job on your first book club, so I appreciate it.
Only up from here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned so much. I can't believe that the little fact too about counting the Negro Baseball League, it's like mind blowing. And yeah, wow.